this afternoon by the 8 times world memory champion, Dominic O'Brien, and he's answering some of the most frequently asked questions that we've been asked about memory, memorization, and in developing your mental skills. And the question I've been asked, Dominic, is I know that you've achieved several world records, several Guinness records, in fact, including memorizing 54 decks of cards in a single sighting. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you how this all came about. It's a very interesting story. Our dear old friend Creighton Carvello, who's no longer with us, he's the guy that inspired me to take up memory in the first place back in 1987. He set the world record for memorizing 6 decks of cards. Now, he was invited to do a TV show in Japan. It was a live TV show, and they had the 6 decks of cards on a card table, and they had a geisha girl there that was doing a dance or performance of some sort. And the host said, right, well, off you go then, Creighton, start memorizing the cards while they were introducing other acts. And I think he got through probably the first 1.5 decks, because they were ordered in separate decks, when the geisha girl, unfortunately, accidentally, knocked over the card table and all the cards went flying. Bear in mind, this is a live TV show, and the host didn't know what to do and said, well, the geisha girl picked up all the cards. They were in one stack at this point of, was it 312 cards? So the host said, well, Creighton, do you think you can memorize all the cards? Because they didn't have time to separate them into separate decks again, to organize them and shuffle them. So he said, well, I'll have a go. So he spent the whole show going through each card once. And at the end of it, he recited all the cards. I think he made about 20 errors, something like this. And this was back in probably 1984, 85, something like that. So this is before I met Creighton. I looked in the Guinness Book of Records and I saw this record and I thought, well, that's interesting. Maybe I should go for this. It's called the multi-deck, where they're all shuffled into each other and you're only allowed a single sighting of each card. So I did the 6 decks. This was back in 1989. I managed to do it without error. Then somebody from Scotland did 7 decks. Then a guy called Frost McKee in the States did 15, I did 20, he did 25, he went up and up and up, got to 40 decks, which I did at the old Top of the Pop Studios. And then the last one I did was in 2002, 54 decks of cards. This was in Simpsons in the Strand. And it took all day to do it. It took me 12 hours to memorize the 54 decks, 2,808. Now you're allowed a 0.5% margin of error. It took me 3 hours to recite all those cards, and I made 8 errors. 4 of them were verbal errors. I said King of Clubs instead of the King of Spades. The other 4 I simply couldn't remember. So that is still the world record today. So thanks to Creighton Carvello, and I suppose you could call it serendipity, thanks to the geisha girl knocking the cards on the table, this is how the multi-deck record was born. Interesting story.
It certainly is. It's lovely how we've got loops within loops with all the memory masters kind of inspiring and working with each other. The question is, has anybody else ever come close to hitting that record?
A few people have had a go. There are different variations. I know Andy Bell memorized 100 deck once, but he had repeat views of each of the decks. And I think that took him about 5 or 6 hours, something like that, to do it. But that's a separate category where you can review the cards, if you like. Other records have been done where competitors haven't gone through all the cards, but they've pinpointed, so they've been asked like 20 questions, like what is the 14th card in the 38th deck, something like that. But this is the only one where anyone's repeated all 2,808 cards.
So that is the ultimate memory marathon recall.
Well, I don't know about the ultimate. It's just one of them, and it's a long day's memorization. It's 15 hours plus all the preparation beforehand, and then coming down to earth afterwards.
Well, speaking as an arbiter, certainly an arbiter of some of the memory feats, we are we're always astounded when people attempt records like that, but we're always very, very, very grateful when it's over, we must confess. It's a long day for everybody involved and a lot of focusing, so it's not an easy thing to prepare for, and it's certainly not an easy thing to mark. But yeah, thank you. It was an amazing day. Glad we don't have to do it too often, but certainly you ever want to attempt it again, we'll be there. Thanks very much, Dominic.
Thank you.